College is a life-changing experience for anyone. For this teen, however, it wasn't just about entering a new phase. Applying to college changed the course of his life in a way he couldn't have imagined. There was an issue with JJ's social security number. It didn't match his name. Schools kept flagging his application because of it. Applying to college is hard enough when things like this don't go awry, so JJ needed to get to the bottom of it. JJ Mangina lived the regular life. He lived with his father, Jonathan, in this house in Cleveland. But their life wasn't as simple as it seemed. Soon Jonathan would find out that his childhood was anything but normal, and the family he knew was a lie. Jonathan was a single father. He had been raising JJ all by himself since the age of 5. He had big dreams for his son. JJ's mother wasn't in the picture. Jonathan said she left when JJ was 5. Though JJ was born in Alabama, the two moved to Cleveland when JJ was young. Jonathan wanted a fresh start and soon found a good job in the area. Even without his mother in the picture, JJ enjoyed his childhood, but he had questions about his mother. When he asked his father questions about his mom, he would give him short answers, and Jonathan often told his son that his mom was a selfish woman who passed away a few years ago. JJ grew up to be a great student. By the time he was a senior in high school, he was an honors student. JJ shared his father's dreams of being able to go to college, so he focused on his grades even through his last few semesters of high school. JJ didn't relate to most of his classmates because as the only child to a single father, he had struggles that other kids didn't have. Because his biggest goal in life was succeeding in school, JJ focused all of his energy on acing his classes to get into a good college. But he had no idea at the time that he would not get accepted to any of the schools he applied to, for one surprising reason. JJ sent applications to a few schools in his area, and he had high hopes that he would be able to attend school in the fall. But his father had different thoughts that only became known to JJ after he sent out his final application. JJ's dreams aligned with his father's. JJ also wanted to go to college. He planned to go to Ohio State University when he graduated. Given his ACE scores, he was a great candidate. But when he tried to apply, his school's counselors found a wrench in his plans that they had never seen before. While JJ was working on his college applications, he reached out to his father for assistance. But suddenly, his father got very quiet and refused to answer any questions about JJ's family history or childhood. This was the first time that JJ had seen his father get so flustered, but it wouldn't be the last. Jonathan was frustrated by his son's questions, which was obvious to JJ, but he just couldn't figure out why his father was so upset. Simple questions like JJ's medical history and personal information, like his social security number, seemed to strike a bad chord with his father. But this was just a small piece of a much larger mystery. JJ realized that he couldn't ask his father any more questions about his life, so he would have to finish his college applications on his own, which was a lot to take on as the school year closed to a finish. Any senior in high school will tell you that the last few semesters of school are some of the most stressful moments of their young lives. With finals around the corner, extracurricular activities, and planning their futures, there's hardly enough time to think about getting accepted to college, but soon it would be the only thing on JJ's mind. There is a lot of personal information that he had to submit with his applications, like any other student, including his name and ID, but these documents weren't matching up. There was an issue with JJ's social security number. It just didn't match his name. JJ approached his school counselor to try to get some answers, and the counselor tried to get to the bottom of it. She eventually found what was happening, but it wasn't what anyone expected, and it soon changed the way JJ thought about his father. JJ was soon told that his college applications were flagged because of a problem with his social security number, which can be a serious problem to resolve. JJ had no idea why there would be any problem with this information because he had never had any troubles traveling in his life. But soon his father's apprehension about JJ's future made a lot more sense. JJ realized that without being able to go to college, his whole life would be changed forever. Going to college was his biggest dream, and his father seemed to hold the key to his acceptance, whether he knew it or not. So JJ went home to talk to his dad about the mishap and hopefully get some long-awaited answers. JJ didn't want to be angry at his dad, But it was obvious that Jonathan was keeping something serious hidden from his son. And when he got home to question his father, he deflected and refused to answer any questions. The next day, JJ returned to school determined to get answers about his life. He marched into the main office of the school to ask why his social security number was denied on his applications. And his counselor soon discovered the truth that set JJ back and stunned him completely. His counselor told him that his social security number wasn't his. It belonged to a boy who had been missing since the age of 5. And this child eerily matched JJ's description, appearance, and whereabouts. So who was this boy, and could JJ get in touch with him? It turned out that JJ was the one listed as a missing child. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had him on their list. He'd been missing for years, and he had no idea. Surely a missing child would know they had been kidnapped, right? The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had a photo of JJ as a child. Not only that, they had a photo that had been age progressed. They had distributed it in an effort to find JJ he'd been missing since he was 5, and he was now 18 years old. But had anyone recognized him for all of these years? JJ's name wasn't even JJ, it was Julian, and his last name wasn't Mangina. It was Hernandez. Sadly, this discovery wouldn't be the end of the story. There was a lot more that JJ was about to learn about his father. Julian soon learned that his parents divorced early on in his life, and during the court hearings about custody over Julian, they argued constantly about who would have the right to house their son. So Jonathan took off one day with his son and was never seen by his ex-wife or lawyers ever again. His father also wasn't who he thought he was. His name wasn't Jonathan Mangina. It was Bobby Hernandez. So what was going on? Julian set out to get to the bottom of his life story, even if his father didn't want to help him in the process. Julian's mother hadn't left. In fact, she still lived in Alabama, where Julian was born. It wasn't Julian's mother who had taken off. It was Julian's father. When the father and son moved to Cleveland when JJ was 5, he was kidnapping his son after losing a custody battle. When Julian was 5, his father had agreed to take him to preschool. He packed up Julian's baby blanket and a stuffed orca. He then went to the bank, drained all his accounts, and took off with Julian. Because Julian was with his father, he didn't realize at 5 years old that the act was malicious. Julian had been kidnapped by his own father. Because he and Julian's mother were in a custody dispute, Bobby decided to take his son and disappear so he wouldn't have to face the court. He had taken Julian and vanished. Julian had no idea. When Julian was taken, his mother was desperate to find him. She had gone into Birmingham and put flyers everywhere. She was devastated. After discovering the truth about his father and his past, Julian set out to find his mother and hear her side of the story. Because she was still located in Alabama, he set off to make the trip to the state and meet his mother face to face for the first time since he was 5. Julian's mother was stunned to see her son again because she thought she would never have the opportunity again. Julian still had questions about his past and his future. He still wanted to attend school, but now he had bigger problems, which included talking to his father about what happened all of those years ago. Julian's kidnapping changed how his mother lived her life. She had another son and wouldn't let him play outside by himself. She locks her doors, even in the middle of the day, and most of all, she was afraid of Julian's father. Bobby Hernandez was arrested. He was charged with kidnapping, but it didn't end there. Because of his use of a false identity, he was charged with forgery as well. He was also charged with tampering with evidence and interference with custody. In court, Julian plowed on his father's behalf. "He loved me and protected me more than anybody else could during my life," he said. "I don't know what else to say other than do not send my father to jail. Even if other people can't, I forgive him for what he's done. I love him and I want him to be a part of my life." Julian said his father was responsible for making him the person he is today. He pushed him to excel at school. He said his father was the reason he got into college. He asked the judge not to send his father to prison. "Taking my father away from me now just increases the pain," he said. Bobby tried to explain why he took Julian. "Julian was the most important person in my life," he said. "I accept full responsibility for everything I did." Bobby Hernandez was soon found guilty. The judge sentenced Hernandez to 4 years in prison. This is only 1 year above the minimum sentence, so it's fairly lenient. Ultimately, the judge sided with Julian. She said that she found his testimony the most persuasive when considering her sentence. Bobby Hernandez is currently seeking to get released from prison. He's only served 1 year of his 4-year sentence. His attorney is seeking he be freed with some type of court supervision. The prosecutor's office is planning to oppose his early release.